Hey guys, it's Kusi. As we all count the days towards the one magical night of expansion launch, a few important questions still linger in my head and I'm sure in many of yours too. What to play? What to main? What's potentially good? And that's why I took the time to bring to you 5 specs that you should absolutely give a shot when you're still unsure about yours. All of the mentioned specs in this video are some of which I played myself over the course of the Dragonflight expansion and also during the pre-patch, so you can take my word for what I'm about to tell you. Also, my experience with them is usually 90% Mythic Plus dungeon related. And hey, if you want to see more of those videos, make sure to leave a like, and if you're new here, which I can already tell many of you are, then make sure to subscribe too, as this will really get me rock hard. As this really gets me excited. You have to stay PG. Also, if you haven't seen my latest video about 3 specs you really should try, or 8 reasons to play Survival Hunter, make sure to check them out too, you handsome boogers. So, without any further ado, let's jump right into the first one, which is the Feral Druid. Now, those of you that saw my 0 to Hero on Feral in Season 3 know, I'm a top tier Fairy. 3k score, well, almost 3.5k if you're rounding up. No! And all I can say is, I had the time of my life on WoW's resident slapping machine. Feral is the perfect solution for when you want to play rogue, but still be useful. As you actually do bring something to the table, completely disregarding the busted amount of damage you whip out, but also the buttons like Innovate that will healers and raids go on their knees for, Nature's Virgil that will overheal any Disc Priest for its duration, and then you got stuns, AoE interrupts, a knockback, and even a little bit of Nature's Prison. As a druid itself, you're also one out of 3 classes that can decurse targets. Meaning having a decurse is even more rare than Bloodlust. Just let that sink in. But back to the Feral itself. Like I mentioned, this bad boy is so much fun. I've seen the entire conversion from tap target single dot applications towards half-ass AoE bleeds to this beautiful spec that we see here today. But I know what your fears are. Well, besides not knowing your pronouns anymore. But I can assure you, this spec looks a lot more difficult than it is. At least for PvE content. Your rotation is also hilariously simplified, as you just stack up combo points with multiple different gainers, 2 of them AoE, 2 of them single target, and then spend those points to either apply Rip, which is arguably your main source of damage, or Ferocious Bite for some extra pew pew while Rip is ticking. But what about AoE? I hear you shout. No worries, it's the same. Primal Wrath is Rip but AoE. And because the dot duration is shorter, and because Rip and Tear, you can pretty much just constantly reuse Primal Wrath. Rip damage also gives you a chance to trigger a free Ferocious Bite, and if you think that that one is only single target, think again. Rampant Ferocity will hit every target with some extra damage when using the bite, as long as Rip is applied to them. Ain't that cool? Now, I mentioned that you only have to spam AoE Rip during AoE fights, but that changes a little bit when using one of our cooldowns, Berserk. This thing puts your cat on the purest catnip out there, while you pretty much can use one finisher every second global, and boy that is something. While in Berserk, you can weave in some Ferocious Bite between Primal Wrath casts just to enhance your damage even more, but for beginners, you don't have to. And then there's Convoke, hailing from the Arden world of Shadowlands, 2-minute cooldown that is an insane thing to use on single target, even on AoE, just make sure you burn yourself out of all energy and combo points before using it. Another reason why many told me that they won't play Feral is Blood Talents, and for those I got one thing to say, don't, play Lion's Strength instead. Yes, it's technically less damage, but only if you play Blood Talents to perfection. If you don't want to deal with that minigame, the just flat damage increase for Rip and Bite is the perfect alternative. I started with that too. Oh yeah, and don't even get me started on the hero talents. Druid of the Claw looks phenomenal. Ravage, the core ability of that tree, pretty much gives you a proc chance to make your next Ferocious Bite in AoE itself, while Wildstalker gives you more of a magical approach, but who wants to look like this? Second spec we got for today is a healer that is arguably one of the most engaging ones out there. Ever wondered what Bruce Lee would play in an MMO? Well, then there you go. Mistweaver, besides the fact that they absolutely have a full-blown cast build that works just as well, are known to throw down in order to assist their party. All the talents around Jadefire Stomp will ensure you some very neat and evenly split healing alongside the entire party while doing damage. And not the kind of disc damage that is a lot lower than Holy Priest for some reason, even though that's the whole shtick about Disc Blizzard Entertainment. Breathe. You do damage while healing. Ain't that cool? Over the course of Dragonflight, they enhanced the specs so many times that the quality of life as well as the playstyle feels absolutely amazing, and just to add some extra cream on top, you got multiple oh shit buttons whenever you can't keep up anymore. And yeah, multiple. You got Cocoon for that 1 DPS that just refuses to step out of fire. You got Shadow's Gift that will charge up every 40 seconds for an insane 5-man heal. And then you got Revival, big ass AoE heal that's increasing in party environment and also removes some debuffs. In Mythic Plus, you can also run a 1-minute crane build that's just insane and usable on every pull. So to summarize this, we got damage, healing, and multiple spells that will ensure survival. I'm telling you, Meatbeater is a spec that is a bit weird to get into if you're not used to healing. But once you do, it is all worth it. You also provide some very neat utility in Tiger's Lust, which is a slow removal besides the obvious speed buff, AoE stun, yeah enough said, and a very unique spell that is called Ring of Peace, which will keep all the nasties away or even knock away enemies whenever you place it below them. All that AoE CC will come in handy for the new seasonal affix in the World Within, I can tell you that much. I didn't test the hero talents yet, but from reading them, you either got a new active ability to press for some extra healing, or you simply store a certain amount of your overheal on the damage done, which then you can unleash while using Thunder Focus Tea, which you pretty much use on cooldown anyways. So 1 tree for active healing, 1 for passive, sounds absolutely reasonable for me. Coming to spec number 3, one that I'm very happy to see thrive on the beta right now, the Affliction Warlock. I made the decision to play this one in another Zero to Hero during Season 3 of Dragonflight, as it was considered the least played spec at the time, and I quickly found out why. Super long ramp ups, really lazy Seed of Corruption spams that felt super good on big packs, but very frustrating when you pretty much just had to use it on 3 or more targets. Luckily, those days are over. We got a simpler and refreshed talent tree that not only got rid of the seed spam, but also critically enhances your new main spender Malefic Rapture. Oh yeah, they also removed 1 dot to apply in Siphon Life, which means now you have 3 dots to play around. Corruption, which you only apply via seed in AoE scenarios and only once too, as with Absolute Corruption they are now permanent. Then you got Vile Taint that puts up the other dot you have on 8 enemies, Agony. And then there's Unstable Affliction, which is one you can only use on 1 target anyways, so no need for an AoE spell. So you pretty much dot everything up with 1 cast of Seed and 1 Vile Taint, and then nuke the hell out of the prior target with Hunt and Unstable Affliction for some mad Rapture hits. That's how it works now, simple as that. You also got multiple tools to extend your debuffs passively, like your 2-minute cooldown Sauron, or even
I'm stuttering like a mother. I'm about to hurt somebody or something, and I ain't gonna be myself.
Or even Dark Strike. Which happens without you having to do anything. Oh yeah, and Shadow Bolt is back. Finally we stopped using Drain Balls for the entirety of the expansion, though I gotta say, I can see the Soul Drain coming back for dungeons, as the guaranteed Soul Shard when channeling on a dying target makes your next pull even cleaner, but we will see. Furthermore, we got them hero talents, which are also a sight to behold. Hellcaller replaces your corruption with Wither, which will give you a chance to put stacks on every affected target, also passively by using abilities, which then have a chance to explode and do even more damage. Like what the hell? Caller? And to top it off, you get 1 extra 1-minute cooldown that does even more damage to Wither affected targets, while also giving you 8% haste. Soul Harvester is the wet dream of every hentai enjoyer, as this one gets you possessed by a demonic entity, and before you pause the video right now to squeeze one out, you sick freak, let me finish first. This one will enhance your gameplay just a little bit by sometimes empowering your Soul Shard for some extra fancy 20% damage increase on your next Rapture. As a capstone, Soul Rod will now guarantee your next 3 Soul Shards to be empowered, which is similar to one tier set the Warlock had during Dragonflight. If you're looking for a spec that is completely refreshed and actually looks like it's going to be playable, with very little ramp up time left, then look no further and give your Rodslinger a chance. Coming up on number 4, we got the Vengeance Demon Hunter, the tank that dominated half the expansion, and when I say dominated, I absolutely mean it. Now, I can hear some of you out there whining and saying, oh, Vengeance got nerfed, it's so bad now. And to you I have one thing to say. If you're seriously complaining about the absolute necessary nerf to Vengeance, you lost any sense of reality. Vengeance was so damn busted, way too much damage, ridiculous self-heal, more CC and utility than all of the other tanks combined, which included double silence on a way shorter cooldown than the other only AoE silence from Boomkin, and you were also beefy as hell while having a short duration meter on every pull so you just don't die. Now, what has changed? Besides some survivability nerfs to all tanks, not just Vengeance, the major thing that got nerfed is the ability to not have double sigil. The only sigil you have now on 2 stacks is the only one that is necessary for your playstyle. Disregarding those nerfs, Vengeance is still looking insanely strong and is still considered one of the better tanks for the war within. I mean, you still have the short duration meta every 20 seconds-ish, you still got big burst damage to quickly grab aggro, and still got some really potent defensive abilities like meta itself, demon spikes for an almost permanent uptime, or fiery brand in case there's some big Meatbeater in the pack. Pause. You still got all the tools to control the trash pack, and with extra addition to shorter cast lockouts on trash mobs after being kicked in the war within, silence is gonna be more valuable than ever before. DH is in my opinion also a very beginner friendly tank, as the core mechanic of farming souls to do damage is very much simplified, as all souls that go over the cap of 5 will be consumed instantly anyways. And with Soulmonger, you simply get a shield whenever you would overheal yourself. It's failsafe. I absolutely recommend Demon Hunter for anybody, as it's a very straightforward tank with some extra fancy buttons to really stand out compared to other tanks like Warrior or Guardian that pretty much are just meaty damage sponges. When talking about them hero talents, we once again have the option between the passive one and an active one. Sort of. Fellsguard, which is the passive option, will simply enhance your damage during meta, which is insanely cool as you are absolutely invincible during meta anyways. It's also a double win, as you would use meta on big pulls regardless, and now you even provide more damage during that window. Aldraki Reaver, however, gives you some sort of little minigame to play, as you get an enhanced throw glaive whenever you consume 20 soul shards or use hunt, and whenever you use that glaive, hell is breaking loose as you get empowered so hard it's not even funny. And also after using the glaive, you get an enhanced soul cleave, and if you consume that, you do get an extra big buff of attack speed as well as damage and healing done. I'm not sure which one of these will be more impactful, but for beginners I'd recommend Fellsguard for now. Coming up to the last edition of this video, the Fury Warrior. And while we covered the arm spec in the last video, Fury is not in a worse state at all. Quite frankly, they seem to be in an equal spot currently when it comes to the pew pew. Now Fury itself didn't get changed much compared to the playstyle it had for the last few expansions, which is good and also bad. It's good because it's very much accepted, and people enjoy torturing their wrists to the point of carpal tunnel every now and then. But this also means that Fury has the same insane burst and a very reliable constant AoE outside of that. Obviously it is still a bit annoying that you're pretty much target capped at 5 while not having Rawr or Bladestorm to use, but considering how slow dungeons go in the beginning of the season, most tanks won't pull more than that anyways. Now what did get changed a lot is the warrior part of the talent tree. It's also easier now to get to something like Shockwave for example, which even though isn't a long stun, it is still an AoE interrupt, or a spell to stop trash mobs from channeling. However, easily the best addition, or return rather, for Fury is the mentioned Bladestorm. Let's be honest, Ravager is okay and all, but it's something no one asked for. The sheer amount of joy that your wrists feel after being able to not press anything during Bladestorm is not only priceless, but the spell itself is just such a staple for warriors in general. And with Unhinged as a talent, this means you can do even more AoE during Bladestorm windows, because if you proc Meatcleaver beforehand, those Bloodthirst casts will in fact hit up to 5 targets too. Like on arms, I don't need to tell you guys so much about Fury as it's very straightforward, fast-paced and insanely fun. And it's beginner friendly, which is always a good thing when you try out something new. The hero talents for Fury however are, well, I'm having mixed feelings about this. While Slayer seems to be the go-to and looks disgustingly good with all the amount of passive extra damage one could ask for, because let's be honest, Fury is so fast you can't press any more buttons, Mountain Thane seems pretty ass though. This one makes your Thunderclap matter a lot more, which we don't really use to begin with, and even gives you a skill enhanced buff to Thunderclap as well. However, it doesn't scale too bright, and I feel like the addition of the clap to Fury doesn't feel that enjoyable. Is that a word? No! But hey, maybe they will overtune it and we will adapt with all the joy in the world. But that is it from me for today's video. I hope I was able to maybe marinate one or two of you into giving any of the mentioned specs a go, as we got still plenty of time to level up characters. By the way, they finally, actually, fixed the Radiant Echo event, so leveling through that is not only insane now, it also gives you a currency which you can use to get yourself a fully 480 item level set afterwards, which you can also turn into tier set. Highly recommended, it's fast as hell. Caller, thank you for watching and don't forget to like the video if you watched this far. Until I catch you in the next one, peace.